Good day, everyone. My name is Arpad Szakal, and some of you may know I work with aviation professionals, including commercial pilots, to help them with their career transition and job search strategy. I'm based in London, in the UK, and today I have the opportunity to talk to Tom Caska, the Sydney, Australia-based co-founder and CEO of Aerologix, which is a platform for drone aerial vision. And Tom is a former commercial pilot who, following a serious accident, had to completely reinvent himself and his career. He has been very successful with making his own career pivot, and he will share some of his top tips with us on how you can do the same if you find yourself in a situation when you really need to act. Tom, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thanks very much for having me. Great to be here.
Let's jump straight in. What made you leave your chosen profession as a commercial pilot, Tom?
Well, I had a huge kite surfing accident about 7 years ago. I fell out of the sky from around 15 meters and landed on a sandbar straight into my neck. I shattered my C7 vertebrae and had to go into surgery and had a pretty long recovery process, but I also suffered some significant nerve damage. So I lost dexterity to my fingers and I had some problems with my vision. So I lost my Class 1 medical to fly as an airline pilot.
Yeah. So what were the most difficult aspects or some of the biggest challenges that you were facing when you were making your own career transition?
Yeah, look, I think the initial shock of losing my Class 1 medical left me in a position of, I guess, feeling quite vulnerable, thinking, what am I going to do next? I've only ever been a pilot. I only know flying aircraft. That's been my profession for the last 10 years at the time. So for me, it was like, well, what am I going to do next? How could I use my skill set? Can I use my skill set in other domains? I was really feeling lost and uncertain about my future, and it took a long time to try and get back on my feet.
Yeah. And I think one of the main difficulties, especially commercial pilots who are making or trying to make these transitions are facing are their own limiting or crippling beliefs. What are the top, I don't know, 2 or 3 of these that these highly skilled tax-heavy pilots are facing when they have to make a change, Tom, from your experience?
Yeah. Look, I guess I'll bring it back to my experience. So after being a pilot for so long and only flying, it took a while to get some confidence up and actually realize I had a diverse skill set. So I was really good at project managing. I was really good with customer relations. I was good at all sorts of things that you use in the flight deck every single day, but you don't really realize it. So being a pilot, you think, right, I just fly the aircraft, that's me. However, you're really doing so many different tasks day to day, day in, day out. And these skills are directly transferable to all sorts of other businesses, not just entrepreneurship, that's what I'm doing, but all sorts of other things. And after talking to lots of my airline colleagues, they're beginning to realize that. And they're doing all sorts of other things. They're like, hey, I didn't realize that I was already doing this, flying the aircraft, whatever it may be. Yeah. Like stakeholder engagement is a big one with entrepreneurship and what I'm doing. And as an airline pilot, you're very, very good at doing that.
Yeah, you've mentioned entrepreneurship. What led you to become an entrepreneur as opposed to just getting another job at another organization, Tom, which is what most or 99% of the people do?
Look, for me, I found a passion in drone technology. So I sort of used my skill set from aviation, transposed it into drone technology. And then I also figured out, after being an airline pilot for so many years, juggling different things and having a diverse skill set, you're actually pretty well suited to being an entrepreneur, where mainly the main big difference would be with being an entrepreneur, you need to be able to take risks. You need to be able to take at least calculated risks. So when you're an airline pilot and you're flying an aircraft, you really have to operate by the standard operating procedures, and you're not told to take any risks unless you're perhaps in the simulator or something like that. But being an entrepreneur, you're really juggling so many different things at one time. You're wearing multiple hats, and that's exactly what you're doing as an airline pilot. So it became a really good fit for me. And also, I guess the other really strong attributes of an airline pilot, extremely strong work ethic. You've got to make complex, there's lots of complex decision making involved. So all of those skills are really transferable into entrepreneurship, but also lots of other things too.
Yeah, yeah. You've mentioned quite a number of these skills, but I really feel that there's still quite a bit of confusion on the employer side, especially outside of the aviation sector, those who are not really familiar with what a pilot does on a day-to-day basis, on what these individuals can contribute to their organizations. And what would be really the top sort of both hard and soft skills, Tom, that you would highlight what these tech-savvy project managers can contribute to non-aviation employers?
Yeah, like I think like the hard skills being motivation, determination, being a pilot, having the tenacity and drive to pursue a career is a huge attribute to an airline pilot. And airline pilots are very well respected in the general community for having that. Soft skills like I guess being quite tech savvy and being able to work with in a high tech environment, in a complex technical environment as well. Programming flight management systems, computers, understanding geospatial navigation and all the other bits and pieces that go into flying an aircraft. Understanding load control, understanding how all that sort of works and interacts. It's kind of like you're in your own little business operating an aircraft, which you really are. You're managing fuel, you're managing resources, all those sort of skills, both soft and hard, can be transposed into a variety of different industries. And I think airline pilots are extremely good at what they do. And a lot of them don't realize that they actually have this skill set. And if you wrote them down on a bit of paper, there'd be like perhaps 50 different skills that they have, which could really supercharge a resume when you really break it down into a granular form. I know lots of airline pilots are used to just recording flight hours and endorsements and things like that and passing check rides, but realistically they're doing so much more than that.
Yeah, which can be applied in any safety critical sort of industry, whether it's oil and gas, energy, renewable energy, things like that. Basically,
100%. Yeah, look, I've got airline ex-airline colleagues of mine who have become fantastic project managers. I've got friends working in oil and gas and mining and all sorts of other areas, and they're really excelling and they're becoming leaders as well. And that's probably the other big one too. Airline pilots are fantastic leaders, whether it's in business or whatever. Having strong leadership skills is an amazing skill set to have.
Yeah. And I think it's really it's the ability to think much more broader than just the aviation. I mean, aviation is one form of transport, but then you've got the land, you've got road transportation, you've got shipping. I mean, Australia, of course, is huge on LNG, things like that. I mean, there are other sectors that are not doing badly at the moment.
Yeah, look, no, absolutely. Look, I know a lot of airline pilots join it because of a passion, traveling and being in the sky and doing all that sort of stuff. But even if this is an interim thing, they can use that amazing skill set they've got to, like you said, there's so many other industries in oil and gas and transport, and there's hundreds of different things that they can use the skill set for.
Yeah. What would be your top sort of 3 advice, really, or some of your biggest learnings that you would like to share with those who are really sitting at home trying to figure out what to do next? It would be really valuable if you could really just share some practical sort of know-hows that you've learned.
Yeah, so look, I'll go back to my experience. So for me, I started off doing volunteer work. So I started out doing some drone work. Once I recovered, I went over to Africa and spent a few months doing volunteer drone work over there. And it gave me the confidence then to go, hey, look, is this something I really want to go and do? And it gave me a really good feel for what the industry was like. So I think going out and doing some volunteer work, putting yourself out there would be my number one. that can help build your confidence and all that sort of stuff, and you can meet some great people. Number two, if you can go back and do some more study, and it's never a bad thing doing some more study. So I went back and studied an MBA, but there's lots of other short courses you can do to get a bit of a strategic advantage and to upskill if required. And I think the last one would be, look, to really focus on things like your LinkedIn and your networking, and really put yourself out there. Like LinkedIn's it's an amazing resource. You can meet some amazing people. We've employed a lot of people who have reached out to us on LinkedIn, for example. So that's just one example. There's lots of other platforms. So really getting yourself out there, focusing on your networking, and really understanding your skill set and how you can transpose this into different areas.
It's really helpful. The one thing I would mention when it comes to further studies and when it comes to gaining qualifications, I think I see a lot of people who are going out there and really just realize that, oh, I've only got my ATPL and I can't really do anything with that outside of aviation, and then they go and then invest a lot of money into things like, what you mentioned, an MBA or an MSc or whatever it is. I mean, it's great to have the qualification itself, and it's great to study, but I wouldn't do that for the sake of just getting another piece of paper. I think employers are more interested in how you can really apply and benefit them as a result of those hours that you spent in the library. Basically, that's that would be my sort of advice. That just be very practical when it comes to choosing whatever you want to study. Really, would you agree with that?
Yeah, look, I've had some airline colleagues who had a interest in doing finance, for example. So they've gone and done an accounting degree, or they've at least started one, or they're looking at MBAs. Look, when I did my MBA, it wasn't necessarily just to get another qualification. It was about building a whole new network and building connections to interact with people who I could potentially, be employed by in the future. I actually met my business partner doing my MBA, which was fantastic. So there's lots of other things that you could get out of doing an MBA, but there's lots of having a passion for something is pretty critical. Obviously, it's a lot of money as well. Like, you don't want to go out and just do something and for the sake of it, but having an interest and a passion and giving it a go is probably, that's pretty important. Don't just do it because other people told you that this is going to be of use. No, I think look ahead as well. I mean, things like an MBA open up many doors because you can do lots of different things. So maybe have a think about what you might want to do if you don't go back to flying in the next 5 years, and what skill set or what other qualification would be necessary to put you in the front seat in the future.
One last bonus question I had for you, which we didn't mention, but what do you think would be the best way for a pilot to answer the interview question? How long I'm going to give you the job, but how long are you going to stay? Will you jump on the first opportunity when you get a good role with Qantas or Cathay Pacific, or when things are picking up, basically? Will you stay with me if I give you a job today?
Yeah, look, that's a tough one. That's a pretty tough one to answer. I think for the airline pilots out there, maybe they could come to some arrangement where they can still, if they're on a contract with a new employer or something like that, maybe don't sign up to a 5-year contract. If they're definitely really keen on going back to flying, then always obviously leave that door open. That's your passion and your occupation. Right? So it'd have to be a negotiation with the employer. But in the same way, the employer might want to lose such a good and highly skilled worker if they join the organisation. So to come down to the contracts and have that arrangement with your employer, and potentially there could be some part-time role as you move forward in the future as well.
And I think it's basically honesty is probably the best way to go, because everyone knows that you are probably passionate about the aviation industry, and you will want to go back, basically, when you are providing.
Yeah, I think, look, being honest and transparent with your employers, it's always a really good thing to do.
Yeah.
And as long as they understand that, and all parties involved understand that, and then it should be fine. I don't think it will stop you from getting a job if you said, "Hey, I'm going to go back and fly with Qantas or Cathay or whoever it is in 12 or 18 months."
Yeah. Tom, really good to speak with you and really learn from your experience as well. And I really hope that it's going to be well received by a lot of people out there who are in a difficult situation still. So thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure. Hopefully, it can add some value. And thanks for having me.